What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the other side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? So, welcome to Wednesday's episode. So, Monday and Tuesday are topics. If you have not done so already, please go back and listen to Monday, where we talk about the MGM and Caesars breach that's currently ongoing. Check out Tuesday, where we talk about China and how they would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those darn kids, where they were attributed to a Microsoft attack that was affecting multiple departments of the government, and how an analyst figured it out due to some work they did in the past, right? So they set up a tripwire and were able to execute. So kudos to them. And then Thursday will be Ask SSP or a throwback episode. I think it's going to be Ask SSP this week. But if you have not checked out last week's, really good. Check it out. It's Kane McGladry. He is the field CISO for Hyperproof. It's a really good discussion. So definitely go ahead and check that one out. And please continue to listen, right? Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're surging audio wise. So we're like 3 times over what we normally are per month. That's all thanks to you and you guys sharing. So make sure you sub and keep sharing us. Appreciate it. And with that being said, I give it to Shannon.
So you forgot the dog too. It's not just the pesky kids; it's the dog
Yeah, and the dog too.
and the dog too. Sometimes too, right? Because you had Scooby and Scrappy. So like
Oh
sometimes,
yeah.
right? So, but anyway, back on track. That's a Friday discussion. This article's from this discussion is from scmagazine.com, right? Written by Derek Johnson, and it's titled "Feds Hit Penn State University with False Claims Lawsuit Over Cyber Compliance." So this is I don't want to say it's timely, but this hits on something that we brought up before, right? And what we thought could possibly happen, right? So what ended up happening was Penn State got found to not be protecting information. So they're working with the government, right? And they were found not to be protecting information like they should have been, right? So for them, they were supposed to be dealing with controlled unclassified information, CUI, and they weren't protecting it like they said they were. They were just putting stuff up for compliance that was just like templates saying, yeah, we're doing this, but it wasn't accurate, right? And we talked about this before when the government first brought this up, saying, hey, this is what people are going to need to do, this is what companies are going to need to do if they're working with the DoD, but we're just going to take your word for it that you're doing what you need to do, right? And I was like, if you do this, like, this has the potential to just if you're just telling people, hey, just tell us what you're doing, because they got away with it. Like, they got away with it for a few years with them just uploading these templates and just saying, yeah, we're complying with, NIST, what was it, 800-171, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they got away with it for a little while, but it was false, right? Like, they were not protecting this controlled unclassified information. Like, there's things you have to do when you have this type of information. You have to mark it appropriately. If you're ever sending it over email, it has to be marked appropriately. It used to be the old for official use only, right? So the FOUO. Is that right? For official, yeah, FOUO. It's kind of what this replaces, right? So
Right.
type of thing, but it has to be marked accordingly, and they just were not doing it, but they said they were, right? So now there's a lawsuit in place, right? Like, saying, hey, you were supposed to be doing this, you're not doing this. It's just, this is why I like to see that the government wants to make sure people are protecting it, but there's manpower and money that goes into this, right? Like, somebody just pencil whipped somewhere. Like, when they submitted this stuff, someone should have looked at their documentation and caught it a lot sooner, right? On the government side, and said, this is not what we're asking for, and this is not accurate. You know what I mean? But we just don't have that. So if we're going to say, hey, you guys can police yourselves, we need to be able to trust but verify, right? Like, someone has to go in behind them and make that happen and do it. And I realize the manpower that goes into that, right? Like, this is the type of stuff, like, in my job that I have to provide, right? Like, when we are getting our systems, when we're trying to get ATOs and IATTs and things of that nature, there's artifacts and body of evidence and things of that nature that have to go into you saying what you are doing, right? I just can't put up fake reports there and then be like, yeah, we're doing it. You know what I mean? No, someone should be looking at them on the other end, right? And that was not happening in this instance for a little while, right? Because it went, like I said, it went on for a couple years before it was actually discovered, and now we're to the point where it's like, okay, you guys were not doing what you need to do. You you're supposed to be this the purpose for this is to identify, pursue, and deter cyber vulnerabilities, right? But this is not what was going on, and this kind of hurts me, right? Because I'm a Penn State fan when it comes to football, right? So when I saw this, I was like, oh, I was like, did I ever tell Ryan I was a Penn State guy? Like maybe that's why
No, no, you didn't actually.
okay,
So
okay, all right. Like I don't know. I was like, this hurts a little bit to see them doing that, but again, I'm glad they got caught. You know what I mean? Like you can't keep doing that. You can't keep relying on companies or schools in this matter. And honestly, like even though it was a school that got caught doing this, they're working for the DO. They're providing a service to the DoD and getting paid for it, right? So it's not like they're just doing it out of the kindness of their heart. They're getting money to provide the services they're providing, which I believe was with NASA for this one. I think.
yes, yeah, yeah. I was like, did that say NASA? It did say
Yes.
NASA. Yeah.
So yeah, this is why, and this is we are prophets, Ryan. Like we saw this coming to where this could be what happens with this. You know what I mean? And sure as poop, here we are, right? Like this is what happened. But it the government. I'm not going to sit here and say, you know, it's bad what they're doing, but they need to put, if you're going to put the foot forward to say uh cyber is something that's truly important to us, put the money behind it. And we've seen them do it in other initiatives, right? But you got to put the personnel in place, which costs money, to make sure that these companies and these schools are doing what they need to do. Now hopefully this is a wake-up call to anybody else that may have been doing the same thing, where they were like, oh, we need to make sure we are on top of our game here, you know,
Right.
because there's now you're going through the court system now, right? Because it's a lawsuit. But yeah, this is do better out there, everybody. So if you're working for the Department of Defense, right, like make sure you're doing what you need to do. I realize you're getting paid for services and things of that nature, but make sure you're doing what you need to do so you don't end up in this same situation. But what's your thoughts on this, Ryan?
Yeah. So as a third party assessor, the self attestation phases are starting, or they still exist, but a lot of companies are starting to pivot towards having a third party do it, right? Like it's just they may not have a CISO, they may not have someone with the experience to do it, and this is not a veiled advertisement by any means, but you shift that onto another company, right? Someone who's B2B to do these things for you, business to business, and then that makes sure they because in that instance, right, they've sold you a product that says we have experts who can go through your artifacts, your proof, your evidence, whatever you want to call it, um, and determine if we've met FedRAMP requirements, NIST 80, 853, 171, FISMA, et cetera, or the new SEC rules. Like, who's to say they won't double back on them? Because they're going to be scrutinized out the yin yang moving forward. And they fall under new SEC rules as well, because they are a institutional body that collects PII of their students and financial information as well, right? So all that stuff's going to be scrutinized now. Like they probably have to go to somebody else to do a lot of their verifications, right? To do a lot of their evaluations moving forward. And it depends on what else Penn State is doing. So like this one was NASA. I'm sure they have a department that's doing with medical. So that has its own HIPAA and high trust. Um, I don't think they do anything with card payments per se. So I don't think they fall under PCI. They're not like a vendor or a service provider, but they may be. I don't know. I don't know how robust Penn State is. I just know that they're going to have a lot of work now because everything's going to be highly scrutinized because like again, not to victimize the victim in this case, but either they hired somebody who didn't know what they were talking about, or they didn't have the funding, right? And this person had to rush to do things. Again, like I hear what you're saying, Shannon, being someone who's there working for the company or whomever, like you're the one providing the artifacts, the body evidence, things of that nature. Um, like if this person was not either seasoned enough or trained enough, or they're just pencil whipping, like then that whole organization falls victim to that person's lack of due diligence and efforts. So it's going to be bad. It's like, and again, if you're the one of the first, like it's going to be the stiffest of penalties, right? Because they have to set the precedent from here on out, and it's just not it's not a good look for Penn State, unfortunately. But we know going forward for the next 2 to 3 to 5 years, they're going to have the best of evaluations, right? Because they're going to pay the right people to come in there and do what they need to do. And then but I can't imagine the stress that will be on their IT and cybersecurity departments, right? Because they're going to be building plans, they're going to be building frameworks, they're going to be uh, rebuilding anything that was documented that was incorrect, right? Like there's going to be a lot of work, a lot of drafts and writing and reporting, steering committees. Uh, it's the full gamut. It's gonna be some hard times, but they're going to come out with an amazing program afterwards, right? Because Penn State is a powerhouse institution, so it is what it is. So we will see. We'll see what the future holds for them. So yeah, not to keep bashing the institution, but yeah, they have a lot of work moving forward. They're gonna have to pay a pretty penny probably to either bring in the talent or to hire someone to come in and to help augment what they're lacking.
And I get that, right? Like it, even if it wasn't malicious, which in this instance it seems like if you're just putting up a template that doesn't have legit information in it, the way I read this,
Yeah,
seems like you were just trying to check the box, right? Like just to say, okay, yeah, it's up there. But again, I want to put more of this on the government to provide the personnel, the money to be able to make sure that this does not happen, and where it's going on for a certain amount of time, right? Like, and I get it. I get that, if you're going to hire somebody, if you're going to hire somebody in the government to do this, that's taxpayer money, right? Like that's how
yeah,
that works. People are like, I don't want to pay more money for, more bureaucracy and all these other things. But like, these are the types of things it's going to, right? Like to make sure that, I don't know what Penn State was doing for NASA, but to make sure they're not, building faulty rockets or whatever, you know what I mean?
right. Yeah, like who knows? Like,
Yeah.
and then yeah, it's a whole issue into itself. Like how far does this reach up, right? How far were they pencil whipping up? Hopefully it was nothing crucial, right? But cybersecurity is crucial. Like it just depends on your perspective. Like whomever was in charge of this uh program or whatever was just like, we got to make it through so we can do whatever we're doing with NASA. But it's you can't build a house on a crappy foundation. So yeah, I can guarantee 5 years from now, like Penn State has the greatest, cybersecurity program on the planet. They have all the tools, all the personnel, because they really have no choice now, but also because of all of the building they will be doing. So if you're a person who's there, I feel for you. But you're going to get so much experience. That's how they sell you on stuff. Like if you come in now, you're gonna get so much experience under your belt. You'll be somebody CISO the next 5 to 6 years. Because you will know how everything works when it comes from the building of incident response and business continuity all the way up through the auditing process. You will be that person, right? But yeah, and when I saw this one pop up, I was like, and wasn't making a lot of traction, right? I think it just because of our career fields, right? Like I don't think we've talked about it in a while. So Shannon's an ISO, um, with years and years of experience, IT vulnerability assessment, vulnerability management, all that good stuff. So like this one probably hit him straight to his court, and then he's a Penn State fan. I didn't know that, so I just a double whammy. And then for me, it's the IT experience, network security side, and now I am an auditor and assessor and a vCISO. So I'm the third party guy, right? I'm like, you're not doing self attestation at this point. Like now you're giving me your evidence for me to then evaluate and score. And hopefully, if we build a good relationship, I'll be there on the ground to help you build these things or these policies and procedures, right? So it's definitely interesting to see like such a big institution get punched in the face like this, but hey, if it can happen to them, it could definitely happen to you, smaller, community college or, what have you. Like, if they get the big boys, they'll get you too. So definitely make sure you're going back and doing your due diligence. So with that being said, definitely hit up all the websites that go by our name. You can hit me up personally. I'm at RYRY Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. I'm on LinkedIn, Clubhouse, Twitter, and Threads. Definitely continue to hit us up. We like these numbers. Like, share, subscribe. Stay safe, stay secure.